Dan Illman, Mike Buer taking a look back at the prestigious Grade 1 Woodward, a prep race for the Breeders' Cup Classic. It is at a one-turn mile and an eighth at Belmont Park, and as we break from the gate, we're going to see red-hot, razor-sharp Art Collector go right to the front, and Art Collector proves too much for this field, and I guess he proves he's the real deal, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it does. This is, only his third start since Bill Mott took over. They're all wins, Dan. 103, 103, 107 here, winning the Woodward. He has really no trouble getting to the early lead, though, Dan, and he's got a 1,000,000-to-1 shot sitting to his outside. This is, basically the definition of a perfect trip.
Sitting in behind is your beaten favorite Maxfield, who was second to Nick's Go in the Whitney, looked so good earlier this year and winning the Stephen Foster. Blinkered for the first time. He seems like he's eager and pulling in the pocket, but all in all, this is a good trip, and he's going to have every chance in the stretch, just can't get to Art Collector.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he moves himself up into a really nice trip. He's under a pretty long rein there. I'm sitting in behind Art Collector, so maybe he's a little eager, but this is a really nice trip for him. He's keeping up. He is going to come clear in the stretch with plenty of time, and he doesn't make up an inch of ground in this race, Dan. He was pretty disappointing, I thought.
Although he didn't fire in the stretch, the number 5 Code of Honor, kind of in and among horses all the way on the back stretch and into the turn. I'm a little disappointed that there was not much when the real running began. Maybe that bothered him being in and among horses. It was only his second start of the year after winning off the long layoff at Monmouth Park.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to make any excuses for this horse in here. He's been, I guess something of a disappointment since it seemed like he got really good at the end of his 3-year-old campaign. He's been a little disappointing since then. I mean, yeah, he was sort of behind horses there for a while, but he's clear in the stretch and he doesn't really do that much running. But he was disappointing. Forza de Oro back there, finishing 5th, really did absolutely nothing in this race and doesn't change leads. Dr. Post, I thought he was a decent third in here, Dan, but he never looked like he was going to win.
And he never changed leads as well. Had to be a little bit disappointing coming off the Pacific Classic. But look at Art Collector. He's banked $1.5 million. It's not like these races have come out of nowhere. Last year, when trained by Tom Drury, he reeled off 5 in a row, including the Ellis Park Derby and the Bluegrass. Now, he faltered towards the end of the year. He was given a break. He was given to Mott. He's won 3 in a row with triple-digit buyers. The Woodward, a 107. Up next, the Breeders' Cup Classic. A lead like that is probably not going to happen, considering he'll be facing the likes of Nick's Go and Medina Spirit and Hot Rod Charlie. And it just appears that this horse likes to run close to the pace and freely in the early portion.
Yeah, true enough. I mean, he is a horse when you start going through, especially his good races, his winning races. He likes to be part of the early action in those starts. So we'll see, how much that works against him come the Breeders' Cup. He also has to get the 1.25 miles, which you never know. So it does feel like there's plenty working against him at the Breeders' Cup, Dan, but he's in good form right now. He's on the cusp of being fast enough to be a real player in the Breeders' Cup Classic, and he's going to be a pretty good price in that race too. So there are definitely things to like about Art Collector.
As we take a peek at the order of finish, let's talk a little bit about Maxfield, who rode the pocket in behind the winner, eased out with a look, and just never looked like he was going to win. He never looked comfortable from about the quarter pole down to the wire. He ran okay to be second. I think I was expecting a lot more. I know a lot of people were expecting a lot more. I'm not sure if you could blame the blinkers. I'm not really sure why he needed them in the first place.
Yeah, me either. Yeah, I don't think you necessarily love to see equipment changes like that. But we're talking about a horse now who, certainly, they found good spots for him and he's, won his share of, grade 2 and 3 races leading up to this. But, he was really no match for Nick's Go in the Whitney prior to this race. He was really no match in here without any kind of an excuse. The only other grade 1 they've tried with him this year was out at Santa Anita in the big cap. And, he was really no match that day either, finishing 3rd. So I think there are big questions for him to answer coming to the Breeders' Cup Classic.
So Dr. Post ran a weird race in the Pacific Classic where he was just allowed to drop so far back. And then eventually he came with a belated run to get 3rd. In this race, it looked like if he changed leads, he had a chance to pip Maxfield for 2nd, but alas, he didn't do so. That being said, the Breeders' Cup is a race, Mike, where it looks like the pace is going to be very fast and it could just play to a horse like Dr. Post at a big price.
I agree. He's going to be a big price. He's obviously got a lot to prove against horses like that. It's a really good field. It feels like coming together for the Classic this year. But I mean, let's be honest about his performance in this Woodward here, Dan. The pace wasn't that fast. This horse was last early. He tried to make a 4-wide move all the way around the turn. That's a long turn at Belmont Park, and he was out there the entire way making up ground, and he flattened out a little bit at the end. All in all, he didn't run a terrible race here.
Code of Honor, what do you do with him? We know he's a class master. He won the Travers. We like him at shorter distances. I'm not even sure what his best distance is right now. He's won the Jockey Club Gold Cup. This race was just kind of a disappointment, where even though he was in and among horses, you mentioned he was just flat once he dropped to the rail in the stretch. And I'm just not sure this Code of Honor can compete in a Breeders' Cup race, whether it is the mile against the likes of Life is Good or the Classic against the big 5 or 6.
Yeah, neither one of them is necessarily going to be a particularly good spot, especially if Life is Good turns up at the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. But I feel like if they do want to press on to the Breeders' Cup with him, they'd almost have to go in the shorter race, Dan, because I just don't see how he can win the Classic.
And is it time to write Forza Dioro off as a potential grade 1 or even high-level grade 2 horse? He tantalized us earlier in his career in lower-level races, showing a lot of ability in running fast races. But now they've thrown him to the wolves in 2 or 3 races, and it looked like in the Jockey Club, boy, he had a great trip, and Max Player ran right by him, and here he didn't do anything.
Yeah, no, I definitely look at him that way now. It just feels like he's not going to make it into that upper echelon based off of these last 2 starts. He had no excuse at all in the Jockey Cup Gold Cup, unless you just want to say 1.25 miles was too far for him. But that pace wasn't fast. Max Player sat right on top of him, and he was no match. And he was, in my opinion, he was terrible in this race.
There are the prices for the Woodward Art Collector. The second choice at 5-2. Louis Saez, Bill Mott pays $7.50 on to the Breeders' Cup. Maxfield has a puncher's chance if the pace is fast. He's consistent, just trying to get that first grade 1 win since his 2-year-old season. Dr. Post for third for Todd Pletcher paid $3.10. Art Collector for Bill Mott. He has won 3 in a row, and he's headed for the Classic.